may add as it relates to the bubble. As you know, Anguilla closed its borders some months ago, and with that, all of the hotels, villas, and hospitality, the entire hospitality plant was shut down. As a matter of fact, there was a time when Anguilla was shut down on a whole, with the exception to banking, medical services, and the like. So now we are now in the tail end of the reopening for phase 1, and we are now embarking on the reopening for phase 2. And in the reopening for phase 2, we spoke of the bubbles. And to use a good example, the now famous Meads Bay bubble. And what the Meads Bay bubble is really is that there are a number of properties on the Meads Bay stretch that is void of a restaurant. So what we came up with the concept that all of them will form part of a bubble. So for example, let us use some of the properties on Meads Bay. On one end of the beach, there's the Four Seasons Resort. On the other end of the beach, there's the Malihana Resort. Each one of them is in their own particular bubble. But in between there's a number of properties, such as the Caramar Hotel, the Frangipani Beach Hotel, Turtle Nest, and the like. And some of them do not have a restaurant. And the restaurants that are in there, they either can participate in the Meads Bay bubble or not participate in the Meads Bay bubble. So those that are participating in the Meads Bay bubble, if you're making a part of those hotels that does not have their own standalone bubble, then you can move to that particular restaurant and then have a meal at those restaurants that make a part of the Meads Bay bubble. But bubble aside, if you're a hotel and you're sitting on the beach, or if you're a villa and you're sitting on the beach and you're in Anguilla as a vacationer and you're in staying place, you can still use the beach. You can still go in the water. And based as my learned friend, Dr. Andrew, have said time and time again, that the ocean is good for COVID, and the beach is good for COVID, and the sunshine is good for COVID. So even if it is in some eventuality that someone were to come into Anguilla and is positive, even if they test negative prior to coming to Anguilla, test negative on Anguilla, but have not gotten out of the incubation stage and shows up positive, if the right protocols are adhered to and the social distancing is adhered to, and everybody protect themselves and take personal responsibility to ensure that they haven't contracted COVID, then we will still be in a safe environment. Now, the thing is that there will be a second test in Anguilla, because most airlines are requiring that you have a COVID test before coming. Most countries are requiring that you have a COVID test. So if it is in Martin, which is one of our major partners as it relates to transit in and out of Anguilla, requires that COVID test prior to coming to St. Martin, that person, even though they're only here for 5 days and the COVID has manifested itself, and they do the test in order to leave the island, and it shows up, then what happens? So when that happens, then of course that person has to be isolated. And if it is that they can isolate on property and without any escalation of the symptoms, and they can be treated and get better there, because as we know, we had 3 cases in the past, and none of those 3 cases were hospitalized, and they were treated where they stayed in place. So if it is that they stay in place and they're treated and they get better and eventually they test negative and can travel, that is what it's going to be. But if that person gets worse and have to be hospitalized, we do have the capacity and the ability to treat that person at the Princess Alexandra Hospital. So that's where we are as it relates to that.